There's a new NBC Wall Street Journal poll on religious attendance out and its relationship to the birth rate. And the news is not very good. Jerry Seib has a recent article on it. It turns out more and more Americans are becoming nuns. Right, nuns. That's nuns, not nuns. N-O-N-E-S, not N-U-N-S. Nuns are people who stop identifying with any kind of faith. When they come to the religion box in the religion survey, they check off none. And this nun phenomenon is not a temporary uptick or downtick. We're talking about a steady, long-term decline in church attendance. Just 29% of Americans now say they attend religious services once a week or more often. That's down from 41% in the year 2000, 19 years ago. And while that's been going on, the percentage of Americans who say they never attend religious services, those are really committed nuns, that's risen to 26%, almost double the 14% who said so in the year 2000. The rise in churchlessness is most dramatic among the people that David Bowie sang about. Right, the young Americans. Yes, those aged between 18 and 34. Among that group, the rate of never having attended religious services previously was no different from the rate of oldsters across the nation, people over the age of 34. What about now? Now the ratio of these young American nuns has more than doubled to 36%. Young people are hitting the exit door in droves out of the church. It's a true bleed out. Dr. Taylor Marshall and I devoted a whole show to staunching this bleed. What's the cause of the bleed? Why are they leaving? Is it boomer parents? Now, I happen to know it's fun to blame boomers for everything, but is it really just about age demographic? Is it lousy formation? If it's lousy formation, then lousy formation from whom? Parents, CCD teachers, priests, religion textbooks, bishops? What? Can the average parish priest give a simple, quick proof for God's existence? Have you heard one from a homily? The bishops just met recently, and they talked about trendy, arcane things like the problematic change in Catholic teaching on the death penalty, and only 8 bishops disagreed. Arcane, yes. The Texas Health and Human Services reports that 54,507 abortions took place in the state of Texas during 2016. That's one state, 1 year. Since 1976, when the death penalty was reinstated in the U.S. By the Supreme Court, 1,499 people have been executed. 50 times more innocent babies killed in one state in 1 year than in all 50 states executed over 4 decades. The bishops also talked about transparency and protocols and procedures and directives, and a little bit about Jordan Peterson, a little bit about Reddit and lay oversight, etc., etc. Outside of Mass, though, unless it was unreported, no one talked about Jesus Christ. I didn't read anything about discipleship. Is it any wonder that we don't talk anymore about salvation? You know, salvation, the reason why the church exists in the first place. The goal of the incarnation, as we read in the Nicene Creed, for us men and for our salvation. If hell doesn't exist, or if it might very well be empty, and the glory of heaven is not expressed regularly as a reality, then why are we even Catholic? Is Catholicism the most important thing in our existence? The fullness of what Jesus Christ died and rose to impart also? Or is it just a safe space to feel better, or a stress-reducing vitamin, or maybe just a placebo? And this rise of atheists and agnostics and the drop in church attendance is associated with another scary trend, and that's the falling birth rate. America's plummeting birth rate is catching up with Russia, Germany, and Japan. More bad news. Yes, the National Center for Health Statistics reported just a couple of weeks ago that the number of babies born in the U.S. last year fell to a 32-year low. Meantime, the general fertility rate, which is defined as the number of births per 1,000 women aged 15 to 44, fell to the lowest level since the government started keeping records about birth rates. Births in the United States have fallen in 10 of the past 11 years. And this birth rate angled downward during the recession that started in 2007, and it's never leveled off, and it is not expected to level off. Now, it's easy to get lost in the abstractions of statistics, but think about this. Fewer human beings being born means fewer workers for the economy, which means also fewer hearts to love, which means fewer citizens of heaven. This birth rate crisis is not some Catholic dogma either. Secular researchers have been sounding the alarm for years, like Ben Wattenberg in his book, Fewer, which was expanded from a previous book title called Birth Dearth, or Philip Longman's classic, The Empty Cradle. Yes, we have a population problem. It's called a population implosion. When was the last time you heard of the sin of Onan in Genesis chapter 38 from the pulpit or from a bishop or a priest? How about a spirited defense of Humanae Vitae, or even a passing reference to it in a homily? Anything? The question becomes, does the Catholic Church still endorse big families and generosity with fertility? Or, as Pope Francis said in January 2015, is it that Catholics don't have to breed like rabbits? And what did that even mean? And speaking of bad formation, do you know what the first commandment is? What was the first commandment from God to his people? Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth and subdue it. It's Genesis chapter 1, verses 27 and 28. And by the way, God was speaking to his people with that one, not rabbits. That commandment gets repeated again to Noah in Genesis chapter 9, and again to Abraham in Genesis 35. Same phrasing. This is a commandment, not a suggestion. I wrote all about this in my book, Contraception Deception, if you want to get a copy in the link below. But in the meantime, there are people walking around right now, maybe you're one of them, that at some point when they were kids, they were told by their mother or father that they were mistakes or accidents. You've heard that, right? That's code for, son, we did everything we could to stop you existing through birth control, but something went wrong, and well, here you are. Funny joke. Those parents have it exactly backward. A baby that comes to be because of sexual intercourse is a sign of things going right. Broken condoms and pills that don't work don't cause babies. Sexual intercourse does. So if you care about evangelization, and I know you do because you're still watching, you have to be part of the solution. You and I both. The solution has two simple parts. Stop having sterilized sex and start making disciples. I'm Patrick Coffin. Subscribe to this channel. Check out the podcast, The Patrick Coffin Show, and join Coffin Nation at coffinnation.com. We open the doors 3 times a year, and this summer, in July, it's opening again. Don't want you to miss out. Get on the waiting list. In the meantime, be a saint. What else is there?